Assalamu alaikum everyone. My name is Salman Shahid. Today I'm going to talk about the political risk analysis and project management. Before going towards the main topic, let me first define the political risk. Political risk is defined as when a firm fails to achieve its desired return due to some changes by the government in its policies. For example, the changes could be in the form of tax revision, import-export uh, policy changes, or expropriation by by the government of the foreign assets, etc. Economic risk is the one when a firm faces financial loss due to some non-market activity, such as inflation, deflation, exchange rate volatility, or su- sudden market crash, etc. The uncertain and broad uh, feature of political risk is defined as political risk is unpredictable and extends beyond the government policies. Political risk is surely unpredictable and it is not limited towards the government policies. There are multiple reasons that could cause the political risk, which are the expropriation of foreign assets, nationalization of private property, uh, wars, military coups, and even the um, financial, uh, financial, even the other financial unpredictability as well. The purpose of political risk analysis means that all the multinational firms that are operating in multi countries, uh, multiple countries, need to bridge the gap between the financial and political risk that they are facing. If we talk about the global business concerns, they need to, all the multinational firms need to address the political risk for business operating internationally. As they are, they need to address the political risk as they are conducting businesses internationally in different countries dealing with different type of governments and power. The data challenges means that political risk analysis is complex due to limited data availability. Either the data is not available or the available data is not as reliable as we as we are expecting. The the purpose of political risk analysis in which the first uh, part is bridging the gap. If we talk about the history of political risk, it is as old as the international business and trade. The international business and trade were considered as but subset of the political risk. The political risk was dominant uh, at that time for the commercial activity, but by the by the time the spheres of the international business and the political risk were split, uh, and since then and that was the time. And since then, the political risk was no longer was dom had no longer dominancy over the commercial activity. That was the time when multinational firms were expanding towards many countries to conduct different types of businesses, but they were also facing political risk in high capacity, and they need to come up with a solution for that. The political risk analysis The evolution of political risk analysis could be defined as, in early days, the political risk dominated international businesses for centuries. Uh, One of the very first forms of in the world were the oil refineries firms as they were uh, expanding their businesses in order to dig about the in order to plant more refineries to dig more oil in different parts of the world, such as Middle East, Iran, Russia, Saudi Arabia, Venezuela, and Mexico, etc. All these countries that they were going to start their operations and were very volatile and were for the political risk. They had in mind that this could lead to this high volatility in The high volatility in these countries could could be of much risk towards their business operations. So they came up with an approach that they would uh, they would they would enlist their governments to conduct operations in the host countries to collect data and to uh, work on the analysis of the political risk to minimize the political risk as much as possible. And sometimes, when needed, they would take on board their military. But this approach was to not found to be very subjective and responsive. During the 1960s and 1970s, the Grand Tour approach uh, was put in practice by the same multinational firms, which means that the managers would go and visit the host countries, observing the political environment, target markets, and the local competitors. Based on that, the decisions were made. Later on, furthermore, during the 1970s and 80s, old hand approach was used in which from the IMF and the high institutions like World Bank, IMF, and uh, uh, worldwide well-known ambassadors to towards the countries that they served in were taken on board to take their opinion regarding the political risk analysis, but that was also not considered as much helpful. Other than that, the modern approaches were applied in which the in the modern approaches to political risk, the qualitative approaches were uh, put in practice. Quantitative approach says that predicting political events based on data analysis, data would be collected when the events would take place, and the frequency of events would be noted. Based on that, the uh, expert would share their opinion that such a political insurgency or war or even political uh, political changes could occur. On the other hand, um, qualitative approaches does not mean that it doesn't require any quantitative or numeric data. Sure it did, but the expert opinion and judgments played a key role because political uh, the governments and the politicians uh, that were important to the government, their their opinions and judgments um, would be gauged by the experts, and based on that, the opinion would be shared with the relevant firms to make a plan towards the political risk minimization or mitigation. When both of the quantitative and qualitative were found not to be as fruitful as much, then were they were told that they need to manage the risk investing in multiple countries, taking on board the local private companies and ensure their assets. The impacts of the political risk FDI, for sure, the political risk when it is high, the foreign direct investment is affected. Investment due to uncertainty, poor governance, and weak institution discourages FDI types of risk expropriation, currency convertibility, regulatory changes, contract breaches, and investor behavior. Investors withdraw from high-risk countries, dispute increases. Challenges in mitigating political risk. Most of the challenges faced by the firms is the government complexity. Government is of complex nature, policy continuity issues, and new government or when the existing government keeps on changing the policy, that could also mitigate the political risk. The low institutional capacity. In the last, practical tools for mitigating political risk is strengthen legal protection. Legally, the firms need to protect themselves. Investor grievance mechanism. They need to follow um, strongly the investor grievance mechanism that could help in mitigating the uh, political risk when they are conducting in different countries of the world.